Warning: the following program contains explicit content, outrageous opinions, and untrained professionals. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft with your hosts, Berserker and Navox. This is Unshackled Fury.
Even after, as long as we've had that, I still love that intro. It's got to be one of the greatest intros of all time. Anywhere, for anything, ever. Anyway, welcome back, one and all, to the house that Rage built, your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berserker. Brother Navox is off rampaging with some Romans, I think, and this is episode 92. On today's show, the latest in our Shadowlands LULL series, not Lulz, although that could work, but LULL series. I'll be talking flying, Torghast, some new releases, and a promotion that I kind of care about a little bit. But first, what have I been up to? Oh, shit, it's the greatest segment on any podcast ever. Listen to those clicks. Turn it right off. Well, here's the thing. This show, when it originally started, it's a Warcraft show. But anyone who's listened for many years, this show has also played like part therapy for me on top of the good Warcraft stuff. And so right now, I'm preparing for one of those big birthdays. You know, one of those big numbers that stares back at you and you start to question the things that you've done in your life and go, shit. Have I been doing enough? Did I do enough? Did I achieve enough? Am I going in the right direction? What have I done? Did I waste my many years so far? It's one of those birthdays. And it's happening. So by the time this drops, there will be a plethora of Twitter postings and photos of all of the brisket smoking and Raktajino making and other food and celebratory things I'll be doing. So if you haven't muted my Twitter by now, this might get you there. But yes, this is one of those big birthdays, and I wish that I could say that I was one of those people where I'm like, nah, age is just a number and yada yada yada. No, I'm one of these stubborn assholes where I look at that number and I start to go, ooh, damn, I'm like halfway there, man. I'm like halfway there. Am I content with the things that I've done? I think for the most part, yeah. You know, I think we've achieved some things up to this point. But you start to take stock and you start to look around and go, well, how the knees feeling, how the eyes doing? I did get an eye exam recently. Still perfect vision, no ocular enhancement required. I'm still very lucky in that regard, although I am fat as fuck, and that still happens. Although I will say is that I did make a deal with myself that once I got to the big number here, that I'm gonna have to take a few things more seriously. So I have been on a little bit of a calorie restriction kick, if you will, and I am down some double-digit numbers, which got some crooked double-digit numbers in there, which I'm pretty happy about. So we're gonna try to get this ship back on the right course. But yes, that has been what's been on my mind a lot, and I don't really talk a lot about ye old birthday on Twitter, but listen, if you happen to see what's going on out there, I wouldn't mind a hello. If you want to say, hey man, sucks to be you, you're turning this old, I'm still young, whatever, but I'd appreciate a message. Reach out, don't be scared. It'll be the one time I actually acknowledge it's my birthday. So we'll make some connections out there. But other than that, I was looking at our show on Apple Podcasts the other day, and I was thinking, I wonder what our ratings look like on there, because I haven't really seen it. Overall, ratings are looking pretty good, but we did have one-star rating. And again, I should probably look past that, but no, that is the one rating I will focus on and go, I swear, this show's not the greatest show, but come on, 2 stars, at least 2 stars. You could have given us at least 2. This 2, maybe 3. 1? Come on. That's just a bullshit right there. But that leads me into the real point that I want to make here, which is that if you listen to this show, and if you feel like this is a decent show of any kind, if you feel like it's a crap show too, go out there, rate the show. It does actually help us, believe it or not, to get some visibility. And your participation really helps on that. So if you feel so inclined, hit that. We enjoy the 5-star kind. But, if it gets lower than that, well, shit, we probably earn that too. So feel free to throw down a rating if you get the chance. Back in actual Warcraft land, so this is a Warcraft podcast, we might as well talk about that. I see a lot of people enjoying Burning Crusade. Good for them. I have yet to jump in. My time so far has been spent plowing through Torghast, leveling up my recent legendary, helping the team out, trying to get this last pull of this heroic Denathrius kill in. What a fight. From the abstract, it's a hell of a fight. Very interesting. Lots of different moving parts going on, figuratively and literally. It's a really good fight, and I think we're in the mid to high 30% is where we are right now, and I know we're just banging on the door. We're right there. We're gonna get it. I know we're close. So any teams that are still struggling out there, you're not the only ones. We're trying to catch up too, so don't feel too bad. And last but not least, in the mail this week, last time I was here, talked about the new Folk and Fairy Tale book. Well, there was also another recent release, which is the new Warcraft cookbook. This is the second one that they've done. There's some pretty good stuff in there. I'm partial to coffee type beverages and anything of the meat variety. And they do have some of those, along with lots of baked goods and custom spice mixes. And they do a really good job of trying to import from the game to the real world what might be possible with cuisines. So if that's something that you're looking maybe for a gift idea for somebody, or you're looking to spice up, a random Wednesday night, this might be a good choice for you. So feel free to pick that up. But back here, we do have a little bit of news, a couple things I'm going to touch on here on this abbreviated version of the show. So why don't we go ahead and jump into some news. So in every expansion, starting with the Burning Crusade, flying has been a topic of conversation amongst all, if not most of us. And this expansion, no different. Shadowlands being kind of a different format in terms of we're not in one land mass that's in some place. It's a little more scattered about, kind of like the old Outland, floating out into space, and where can we go? What can we do? What can't we do? But how do we get to the air? That's a big question, because we want to be able to fly, use those flying mounts, get to stuff quicker, take a higher view of these cool places that we're in. How does this work? And the last several expansions, we've had this Pathfinder series where you have to get certain achievements, and you have to grind up rep, and you have to do all of these various things in order to get that Pathfinder achievement Part 1, Pathfinder Part 2, and it hasn't really been met with a lot of excitement, let's say. And I don't know if there's anyone who's particularly enjoyed how any of this has gone for any expansion, other than I think we just bought it in Wrath, and that was probably the simplest, other than coming up with the gold, which was not as easy to come by in those days, but hell, even I did it, so it wasn't too bad. So this expansion gonna be different, and I think people are going to be much happier with the way that this is gonna play out instead, as we did have a recent post from Blizzard about how we will be getting our flying in this expansion. And so here's what they had to say about it, is that essentially what you're going to want to do is start out at Renown level 40 with your Covenant. And from there, the way that this looks is you're going to have to get to Renown level 44, and you're going to have to complete a certain check mark of your Covenant campaign. Specifically, here's what they had to say about it: is complete your Covenant campaign. Before you unfurl your wings, you must progress through the newest chapters within your Covenant campaign, specifically early into, quote, the last sigil, end quote, which is chapter 12 of the Covenant campaign. This chapter unlocks when you reach Renown level 44, accessible within the second week of Chains of Domination. There are currently 9 chapters to complete, and you can check your current progress by opening your map and quest log, where it will display on the top right of the active window. So that is essentially all that we have to do. It's going to take some time to get there, but I think this is going to be more well received than prior versions. And on top of that, we get a special Covenant specific mount. Here it says Soar the Skies in Style. Your heroic deeds on the behalf of your Covenant will also reward you with a mount fit for the most decorated Covenant champions upon reaching Renown 45. So you will have to get to Renown level 45. And it says Kyrian players will glide on the backs of the Elysian Aquilon. Night Fae will ride upon majestic wolf serpents. Necrolords will charge into battle on corpse flies. And Venthyr will take to the skies on newly awakened Stoneborn. That one actually sounds pretty cool. Kyrian, okay, Aquilon, all right, cool. Majestic wolf serpent, not too bad. Corpse fly, I don't want any part of that, as I think I've mentioned before. And big gargoyle, why not? That fits it. So that, in a nutshell, is it. Instead of having to grind all these reps and do all this stuff, it sounds like as long as you start from a base Renown level of 40, just going through and doing the new questing and new quest lines, it's going to get you there. It's going to get you to 44, where you need to go. You'll get these Covenant campaigns, and that should be about it. So, we're not talking more than a couple weeks, and that's good by me. I have no problem with that. I think this will be much more popular. So hopefully that won't prove to be too difficult for most folks. There are some catch-up mechanics coming. They're going to make sure that once the patch launches, that Renown is going to come at a quicker rate than it has, which at this point, I don't think it's all that hard to catch up, but they're going to continue to make that easier to do. So good on them. I think this is a good change. Maybe by lowering the bar, they're setting themselves up for failure later when they decide, no, we like Pathfinder, we're going to do that again. But for now, at least for the foreseeable future, this will be the way that we get flying, and I don't think we're going to have too many complaints about that. Now, patch notes routinely getting updated. The PTR is out there running wild. There's all kinds of stuff getting data mined, and as folks that have listened to the show know, I don't really get too much into that. But one of the things that I did want to talk about, because I have been doing a lot of this lately, are the changes to Torghast that appear to be in play at this point. I wanted to talk a little bit about those. The first is that they're dropping the number of floors per run down to 5, which right now it is 6. They are going to be doing away with the death counter, and bosses are no longer going to regenerate health after they have defeated you. So, each one of these runs is going to be quicker, it seems like, now that there's going to be an entire less floor to deal with. You don't have to worry about dying, so, maybe that encourages you to take a few more chances that otherwise you may not have. And even when you get to the boss, and I think this is the biggest change and the one that's pissed off the most people, is that now when you fight a boss and you're having problems, you'll be able to just continually whittle them down until you can finally get to the end, which to me, that's priceless. Because how many runs have people had, especially on some of these longer runs, where you're an hour or 2 hours in deep, you're on whatever the 18th floor, and you get to a boss and you can't beat it, and all of that time is fucking wasted. Getting past that, I think, is one of the biggest needed changes for Torghast in order for it to start feeling more rewarding for people, because now you'll actually be able to achieve what you want to achieve as long as you can put the time into it, and it's not so much a matter of luck, because we all know you go into some of those runs and you know which bosses you can get through and which ones you're like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm not doing this run, I'm gonna have to start over at the halfway point. This, I think, helps clear up a lot of that. And on top of that, one of the other things that they're working on is they are working on this empowerment bar, which is what they're describing as like a special, quote unquote, a special meter or on fire bar. And as you are working your way through Torghast, you're sort of charging this up, and you'll be able to hit this extra action button, which will empower you for a length of time and give you even more of a power boost as you go through Torghast. And I think it's a really fun change. That's something that, again, Torghast is this funny sandbox kind of place where you can go and sort of fulfill your wildest dreams as your particular class. That's the way that I've looked at it since the beginning when we played this very early on, which is that you are giving me crazy buffed abilities that I have already, or adding on to these great ones that I have, and making me feel like just this true unbeatable warrior berserker going wild and rampaging through the place. Like, that to me was the biggest hook. And anything that they can do to add to that, I think is going to be a win. And people even gave some feedback about this and said, well, you know, this feels like there is kind of a time effect to this, which adds to kind of a certain stress about using it, or that that it decays if you die. And they took away all that. So when you fill this empowerment bar, apparently it's this empowered bar. It's going to stay filled up until you get to a certain point. They said that it no longer decays over time or with death. So an interesting change to add. Amongst a few other things, they're adding some more layers. There's going to be a new bonus floor called the Adamant Vaults, which it says here, brave adventurers who make their way through layers 9 through 12 efficiently will now be given the option to enter the Adamant Vaults, a new floor in Torghast. There they will be challenged against the new creatures and traps that lie within for a chance at even greater rewards. And what that's related to is that there's going to be a new scoring system along with the Empowered Bar perk, which you will now receive a score based on your performance when completing a run. And what it says here is, at the end of the run, your score will be ranked, and you will be awarded with Tower Knowledge. That's a proper term, Tower Knowledge, which can be spent at the box of many things. That is the proper name for this. To acquire permanent perks and grow stronger, which will allow you to acquire permanent perks and grow stronger in Torghast. It looks like that might be a little bit of a typo. So again, they're finding ways to make this interesting, along with what sounds like other rewards, transmog, stuff like that, which is great. But to me, the biggest thing was feeling like you're just ripping through this place, and to me, that's fun. Yeah, listen, trying to puzzle stuff out, that's great and all, but let's be honest, I'm a warrior. I've been a warrior all these years for one reason, because I love just barreling through shit and just ripping it up. So I was really excited to see these changes among the others that are coming, and there's plenty of others. Again, I encourage people to read through patch notes and check out PTR and stuff like that to see what all of this looks like. And with the recent changes to Torghast that I've experienced, I think that was a great first step. This looks like another really positive design change, which I think people will be pretty happy about. So PTR still rolling. We don't have a release date yet, as we all know, but I feel like as these systems are starting to get coalesced around, and we've had this recent flying post, that to me starts to be a marker in the road where they're going, okay, everybody, here's what we're thinking about doing. We've had some feedback, so this is what we're circling around. And then, hey, if you want to do flying, we really recommend you get to this point in the story and your activities, and you've got some time left to do it. So, I don't know, folks. I'm thinking we got about a month left. About a month. So, if I look at my handy-dandy desk calendar here, that's July 13th? I think July 13th. That's probably where we're about. So I'm gonna circle that date on my calendar and see if that's what we got. But keep hanging on, folks. We're almost there. I promise we're getting there. We had another one of these 30th anniversary Vault releases. As we talked about before, there was a really great release the right out of the gate related to Wrath. There was the Lich King statue, $1,000 statue that they put out. They also did, and I had asked for this, and it turns out they actually did do this, the sketch art that Samwise Didier did of Arthas the Lich King, and I was able to get my hands on one. So I've got one here in my house, a copy of that, and it is, for somebody like me, it's great. And it turned out way better than I could have possibly imagined. I know it's a print, it's not a real deal, but it looks very legit. Like, if you look at it, it looks like somebody drew it by hand. It's not like a weird transfer effect or anything like that. It's got Samwise's signature on it, a little 30th anniversary little print on it. I was pleasantly surprised. So if there are items that you're seeing through this Vault release, I do recommend picking one up if you can, because I know that Lich King piece is no longer available. But for this, they did put out some Burning Crusade gear. That's what this one was related to. Last month, it was for Overwatch, and they had some May stuff. For this, you got some art. You got some Illidan art. You've got a pin and some shirts, and they've still got that Illidan statue, which I've seen it in person. That is amazing. But for the concept art, and this was always the piece that I'm going to be looking out for. It is a Burning Crusade Dark Portal concept art piece that they did, and I think it's something that a lot of people would recognize. This is a piece by Peter Lee, who just has done phenomenal work over the years for Blizzard, and I think that if you're not, put off by the sketch, format of this, because it's not a full colorized, 26 by 30 something art piece. It's an 8 by 10 sketch. But if you dig that kind of thing, this looks like a great piece to add to the collection. So excited to see what else they're putting out for this 30th anniversary. They've got several more. Looks like 5 more they're releasing through November. It's supposed to be the second Thursday of every month. So we just got this one for June, so I guess we'll be waiting for July. Looking forward to some StarCraft. I hope that's coming next. I'd like to get some StarCraft art. Maybe Space Marine, doing something cool. Get some Rainer business going. I'd be all about that. So maybe I'll even put out a hit on Twitter of put up a picture of that concept art I got. It was pretty cool. So, last piece here, and this just happened within the last couple of hours, is Taron Gregory, who we all know and love, has been the lead cinematic guy for Blizzard for a number of years. He came in and, Wrathgate, he was the cinematic director for World of Warcraft was his title. And he's been in charge of all the cinematic stuff that we've known and loved over here on this side. Well, now he is the lead cinematic narrative designer over at Blizzard, so he is joining the dev team for World of Warcraft. Now, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know how you bifurcate this stuff, because to me, if you're working on story and doing cinematics, like you're part of the dev team as far as I'm concerned. But understand it's different for them, and there's something else that's official. So congratulations to him. He's a wonderful steward for our game. He is definitely one of us. I've met him once at BlizzCon, and it was a great experience.
You knew Marcus Aurelius?
I did not say I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
Yeah, he did touch me once as we hugged, and we took a picture, and it was great. So congratulations to him. You know, you see somebody nowadays put a post out about something about working on, you know, World of Warcraft for 15 years, like, oh, they're jumping ship. But glad to see this guy not jumping ship yet, and he's one of the canaries in the coal mine for me. You know, there's been a few others, Metzen maybe, but Taron Gregory is one where I'm like, you know, if he's out, then I know, like, we're really fucked. But the fact that he's getting a promotion and joining the dev team proper, that's a good sign. So I'm gonna take that, and hopefully we'll see some more of our love getting into the game. All right. Well, this will do it for this abbreviated episode. Remember, you can always find me on Twitter at BerserkerRage, Navox at NAV_OX, and this show at Unshackled_Fury. Please join our happy little Discord if you haven't already. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise at unshackledfury.com, and you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.